Congratulations firstly for clearing FRM part 1. We'll be moving to FRM part 2. So just to give you a very brief, quick overview of what we are going to talk about. So and about how FRM part 2 is different from part 1. And there are quite a few questions that can I give part 1 in what time frame, etc. So we'll be discussing about the syllabus, we'll be discussing about the material and the preparation, we'll be discussing about the the syllabus in much more detail, because you need to understand the overall picture as to how and what you're studying and how the chapters and all are connected, the exam and the exam pattern, and how, about the exams as in your approach towards that. And so this is broadly what we need to discuss. Now to begin with, when I'm comparing FRM part 2 with part 1, the curriculum is totally different. So the first problem, or not problem I would say, but the first thing that you need to understand is there's a stark difference between part 1 and part 2. So part 1 would be relatively on the numerical side, but part 2 is going to be relatively on the theoretical side. So there will be less numerical, but nevertheless the questions are going to be conceptual. So the questions are conceptual, but then the numericals are going to be lower. The number of readings has increased. The content, the subjects are kind of they move forward from the MBS chapter, the mortgage-backed securities you did in part 1. They move forward from the operational risk chapter, and operational risk becomes an absolutely full-fledged subject. Now the OTC becomes very important. The OTC, the couple of theoretical readings we had done on OTC. So I will discuss the syllabus in detail. I'll talk about the same. So one is that the syllabus is absolutely revamped. The formulas that are there are going to be less intuitive, because in part 1 we were able to prove most of the formulas, but in part 2 that is not going to be the case. Right? You will not be able to prove all the formulas. There are questions, there are chapters, there are readings wherein the formula in the exam also will be provided, and you'll have to apply the same formula. So the data might be provided, the formula might be given. You don't need to learn the formula, you'll just have to apply the formula. The application is going to be there. So even though the syllabus is getting less numerical, the application, the questions are going to be based on an application front. So that becomes an issue. The pass rate is going to be again similar. I'll discuss it when I'm talking about the exams and all. The difficulty level is again, it's debatable, because if you leave aside the numerical or the theoretical questions, when I'm saying theoretical, I just mean to say non-numerical. I do not mean to say that the questions are going to be straightforward. So the questions will be conceptual, application-based question. So if you leave aside the numerical area, you will see that the level of difficulty is going to be almost at par. The question, the issue that comes in over here is tackling the volume of the syllabus as well as the retention part, because the number of readings are quite extensive and it is less numerical. It is a little less intuitive, if I may say so. So that's why it becomes a major issue in order to retain the content. And there is going to be a lot of overlap between the readings of the same subject. So suppose I'm talking about credit risk, there will be a lot of overlap and connection between a few chapters, a few readings. So that you need to be able to tackle. So that is that part. With respect to registrations and all, I believe you understand. Your syllabus for May and November month is the same. Your registration deadlines are January 31st for the May exam, and then the next deadline comes in which charges you extra fee, and 31st of July in order to register for the November exam. So those things you already understand. It's important that you understand the syllabus in very much detail and understand the connection and you know how to go about it, and you understand the strategy for preparation. So I'll discuss the time frame, the time required, and how to plan along with work and everything as I move forward. Right? So this is what basically we are here to discuss.